Thank you, Dr. Litwin. And we're privileged to be here in front of you all and taking the next few minutes to go through a few concepts, things that I get asked about all of the time. Bruce was great. Bruce sat down and he's smiling and laughing and he said, "I love this." And it's clear that he does. And I equally am passionate about markets, but specifically about helping people retire and getting people to that point that they've been working for so long, helping corporations with their retirement plans and individuals with their own personal plans. Like you know, passionate about what you do. What's different about what I do is that I can actually open and close in 15 minutes. So we're going to see if we can, different from surgeons, we'll see if we can get this done in 15 minutes. There are really three key questions that I get asked about all the time. Number one, how's the market doing? Number two, how bad was it? We know that 08 was a very, very difficult time. 08 into 09 was very difficult. But historically speaking, really, how bad was it? And then thirdly, what are some strategies I can employ for a more successful retirement? So I'm really going to cover four main points in order to answer those questions. One, we'll just, for a few minutes, go over the market, kind of where it sits today and how we see things on a go-forward basis. Really explore not just 2008, but the last decade. We've had, you know, two of the worst bear markets that we've seen in history. So what did the 2000 to 2010 decade look like, historically speaking? Thirdly, does diversification still matter? There were a lot of calls for the end of diversification, the end of asset allocation. 2008 broke all the rules, and we need to think about investing in a different way. And we'll explore that question briefly. And then lastly, the real takeaway for this group, we're using a technique with physicians groups, accounting firms, closely held businesses to allow the business owners to really ramp up the amount that they can save in retirement on a pre-tax basis, well and above what you normally would get from a typical 401k or a profit-sharing plan. So specific to this audience, this is a takeaway, and hopefully you'll find it useful. So let's talk a little bit about the markets. Certainly 2009, you know, there was a clear rebound in the market, specifically in the credit markets. You know, the banks got a little bit better than they were in 2008. I think they still have a long way to go. The world economy that we live in, that we've heard about, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. It's here. It's here, and we saw it in 2008, and we saw it in 2009. Markets do move in similar directions occasionally, but not always. But certainly global economies can influence what's going on right here in the U.S. domestic market. Here domestically, U.S. stocks had their best year in 2009 since 2003. And how good of a year was it historically? We'll look at that in a moment. Foreign stocks, likewise, also posed a significant rebound, but in the emerging markets. So the developing countries, the developing economies really showed their strength in 2009. Places like Japan lagged, Europe lagged, so the more developed nations did not fare as well. And then in the fixed income markets, as I mentioned, there was some strengthening, specifically with high yield securities. They had their best year on record. Different from 2008 and really over the last decade, where one of the best performing asset classes was just regular old bonds. High yield really had their day in 2009. Right now, the S&P is up over 1,200, which is up about 9% for 2009. The Dow's up about 7% over the 11,000 mark, and inflation seems to be keeping in check, according to Mr. Bernanke and his recent comments. As an investment professional, we have to look at the whole glass, right? The half full and the half empty. So that was all the kind of the half full part of it. The half empty part, what are some of the concerns? The question is out there, is this recovery real, or are we in for a double dip recession? Are we experiencing some irrational exuberance, as Bruce pointed out? Stimulus money, that was a huge infusion into the economy, and we could debate it another time. whether it worked the way it was supposed to. But the fact of the matter, that was a one-time infusion. That money will not be here next year once that's spent. Housing and commercial real estate. Many believe that commercial real estate is the next shoe to drop. And we're starting to see some signs of that with large real estate funds taking some write-downs because of poor values. The housing market just came out with some not-so-good news on foreclosures, up 35%, largely concentrated in 10 states, California, Florida, Nevada. California carries 10% of the foreclosure activity in the United States. I mean, it's huge. Certainly a concern. The fiscal condition of state, local, and our federal government will continue to provide pressure on the markets. There's a huge burden out there for retirements and for retirement health care that exists in all of our municipalities, our cities, our states, and certainly in our federal government. Credit continues to be tight, and the unemployment numbers continue to be relatively high, not at the 10% that we saw before, but they certainly remain high. So the glass is always half full and half empty, and our job is to be looking at the whole glass. So 2008 into 2009, how bad was 2008? How good was 2009? Coming out of a bear market and going into a bull market, bear market and bull market defined as an increase or decrease in the S&P 500 by 20%. Bear market 2008 into 2009, the low was March 9th of 2009 before we started seeing rebound in the S&P. Down 57%. Only two periods prior to that, 1942 and 1932, were worse. So it was clearly painful. I think what was really painful about it was just how quickly it happened and how quickly the story unfolded. That's the glass half empty. Glass half full. We get to 2009. As measured first 10 months of a recovery, the S&P has rebounded 65%. Only the second highest in history. So it really has been, to reverse a phrase from Charles Dickens, the worst of times, and as we see it now, the best of times, albeit with some caution in the future. So what does the last decade really look like? Well, many call it the lost decade. Why is that? Well, if you look at overall returns from the beginning to the end of the decade, down 9%. Was the S&P. Many people that had balanced portfolios, asset allocation, diversified portfolios, mixture of stocks and bonds, saw relatively flat values. I have 401k participants and individual clients that constantly say, how come my money's not moving? Right? All the conventional wisdoms are broken. I thought my money was supposed to double every 7 years. I thought stocks go up over time, like 10, 12%. Haven't I seen those numbers? I thought diversifying and asset allocation was the way to go. Well, that hasn't seemed to work for me. Across the market, it's not just you. It's happened with a lot of people because of the way the markets work. 2000 to 2003, we had a drawdown of about 50% over 30 months. And you just saw the 57% in 2008 drawdown, but in a much shorter period of time. So during our lifetimes, this really has been one of the, if not, I'm going to look at my slide. It is the worst decade that we've had, going back to the 30s. Okay. So does that mean we stop investing? Absolutely not. Does that mean that asset allocation and the conventional wisdoms around diversifying your portfolio don't make sense? I don't believe so, and many out there don't believe so either. Obviously, very difficult for you to read, but let me point out what this is. It is not the periodic table of elements, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. This is what we call the periodic table of investment returns. At the top of the box, top of the chart, along the top row, is the best performing asset class for that year. Along the bottom is the worst performing asset class for that particular year, and this runs from the late 80s up to 2009. Each of the color boxes indicate a different asset class, ranging from emerging market securities, domestic large cap, small cap, mid cap, fixed income, high yield, fixed income. And what's noticeable about this is the pattern. Everyone see it? Who's got it? None, right? The emperor has no clothes. It's not there. There's no pattern. In fact, if you did the math on from the best performing asset class to the worst performing asset class each year, you'd be running a difference of about 35 to 79% going back in time. So there still remains huge dispersion of returns in the markets. And you can also see that many of the asset classes, pick your favorite color and try to follow it through time. Many of the asset classes that existed at the top of the charts for a year or two, maybe three, suddenly found themselves at the bottom of the chart. So the two messages in here are diversify across asset classes. The second message is don't try to market time. I've spoken with portfolio managers upon portfolio managers, and they don't do market timing. There are people who think they can do market timing. I question if they can do it consistently and over the long haul. For retirement assets and for protection of assets, as David pointed out, you really want to be looking at the entire picture and making sure that you do diversify what you have. Just take 2008, 2009, complete reversion. Best performing asset class, fixed income, bonds. Worst performing asset class, emerging market equities. 2008, 2009, best performing asset class, emerging market equities. Worst performing asset class, fixed income. What we do know is that people tend to buy at the high and sell at the low, and this is exactly why. Lastly, I want to leave you as business owners, practice leaders, partners in your organizations. I want to leave you with an idea that you can take back to your organization, take back to your financial advisor, and if you don't have one, I know one that would be glad to help you. There's something called cash balance plans. And the way we use cash balance are defined benefit plans. Everyone says defined benefit, why aren't those going away? Everyone's getting rid of them. No, they're not. Well, they are in a traditional sense, but cash balance plans remain one of the most powerful planning tools that we have with professional service organizations such as yourselves. And the idea is this. From a traditional 401k plan, you have government pre-tax limits that you can put away, $16,500 if you're under 50, $22,000 if you're over 50. Okay, you get a $5,000 catch-up contribution. For a profit-sharing plan, that increases to $49,000 if you're under 50 and $54,500. Now, for many people, certainly the 401k alone, at $15,000 a year is just not going to make $16,000 a year is not going to make enough for your retirement savings. For many people, even with a profit-sharing plan, that will not make up enough retirement savings, especially if you're starting to save late. So what can you do? By implementing a cash balance plan on top of this, you're able to discriminate, if you will, towards the owners or the partners of the organization, and you're able to do that on an age-weighted basis. So you can see someone in the age bracket of 60 to 65 could potentially put over $200,000 on a pre-tax basis into their cash balance plan, okay, for a total of about $254,000. Okay, very, very powerful. It works like this. So we have Gray's Physician Group cash balance plan. Meredith is the owner. She currently has a 401k plan. So she's able to put away $22,000. She then has her support staff also contributing to their 401k. What Meredith has done is has now established the profit sharing plan because the practice is profitable. And she's able to defer additional monies for herself. But because of government rules and testing issues and discrimination, also has to put some money away for her workers, which is fine. They've helped grow the business. But then if you layer in the cash balance plan, she's able to put away another $134,000. And again, because of testing requirements and so forth, others also need to get a certain minimum contribution to pass all the testing. The end result is that Meredith has been able to put away close to $190,000 for herself. Her workers have also gotten, her staff has also gotten increased retirement contributions. But what Meredith has been able to, her result is that of all the money that's put away, 92% is going to her. and going to her retirement. However you want to view that, whether it's increased retirement dollars or the ability not to have to sell your practice in order to get out of it to fund your retirement, this can be a very powerful tool. She's also enjoying a tax savings of $75,000 by way of contributing $17,000 for others. It cost her $17,000 to get a $75,000 tax break. Okay? Cash balance plans, do not try this at home. It's like playing with a box of open razor blades. You need an actuary and you need a financial advisor. But they can be very, very powerful if you're a sole practitioner or you're part of a large group practice. They're available, and hopefully that is a meaningful takeaway for all of you today. Thank you for having me.